The cruise industry is currently undergoing a massive change, and the launch of Conductor's Glowcore is a prime example of how technology is revolutionising onboard experiences for guests. Today, we're going to be breaking down how we design for these unique challenges at sea and how immersive tech is innovating the future of cruise ship entertainment. Joining me today is Paul Seabrook, the Director of Media and Art, Ben Dowson, our Creative Director, Millie Proud, one of our creative leads, and Chris Mason, another one of our creative leads at Conductor. So the way that I'm going to kick things off today is I've got some chat GPT generated would you rather questions. So if everyone is okay with that, we're just going to run through those first. So would you rather design the most high-tech cruise attraction ever, but it only works in perfect weather, or create a low-tech experience that works in any condition but is slightly underwhelming? Ben, we'll come to you first.
What sort of choice is that?
The first one.
The first one. Great. Thanks, Ben.
Absolutely the first one for me as well. Yeah.
I was going to say the second one until you said underwhelming, and then I thought, the first one.
Yeah, great.
I would be devastated if someone said my work was underwhelming.
Slightly underwhelming.
Slight, even so, underwhelming.
Great. So second, would you rather? Would you rather have to personally test every water slide on a cruise ship, including the unfinished ones, or be the host of every onboard karaoke night for a year with no option to refuse a song? And I will reiterate, these are chat GPT generated. This is not my brainchild.
Water slides, 100%, because the other one sounds awful.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we'd quite enjoy the karaoke one as a group. But yeah, water slides, 100%.
Same. Going water slides, way cooler, and I can't sing.
I can't sing, but 100% karaoke.
Thanks, mate.
Did you say unfinished water slides?
Unfinished water
yeah,
slides.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So that's...
so it could just go off into the middle of the ocean.
Exactly. So karaoke.
Yeah. Fair enough.
So you're all dead.
Would you rather have to personally demo every interactive experience in front of a live audience, or explain your entire design process using only sock puppets?
I've got to do the sock puppets. I am 100% on board with the sock puppets.
I think that's a creative challenge, 100% sock
Yeah.
In fact, I'd rather have sock puppets right now.
I almost brought a sock puppet.
Yeah. We could, I'm up for doing this sock puppet now. Yeah.
Great. And finally, would you rather have every meeting take place on a roller coaster mid-loop, or have to pitch your biggest idea to a client while dressed as a worm with no context given?
So the first one happened to me.
Oh, wow.
At a theme park in Staffordshire.
Okay.
And I was mid-ride
Yeah.
on a phone, and I was like, do you mind? I'm just going down the drop a minute. Okay, sorry, where were we?
Oh my God, no way.
What was the second option?
You have to pitch to a client dressed as a worm, but there's no context allowed to be given. You just turn up in said worm costume.
Yeah, I'm going with that.
Yeah?
Yeah, why not?
With the sock puppets.
Get the awkwardness right there in front of everyone. I'm going with the worm.
I'll go roller coaster.
I'm a screamer.
That would be great fun. I'd really enjoy it, actually. Yeah.
I'd join the worm train.
Yeah.
Just because you'd be like, well, I can't feel any more embarrassed, so just go with it.
Brilliant. Thanks, guys. So, to kick things off, I want to touch on designing for the cruise industry. We talk a lot about cruise innovation, but what makes designing for a ship different to designing for a land-based venue? Ben?
I think there are some obvious physical differences. Of course, there's space limitation. We have to consider weights. We have to consider materials, that everything is marine grade. From our point of view as creative and design, nothing really changes too much. We still approach every project the same from a guest experience and a creativity point of view. But yeah, I would say the space is probably one of the key differences. Every square inch of a cruise ship is prime real estate. So we have to box clever when we're designing, making sure that our solutions are multi-purpose, versatile, transformative, and really kind of making the most of that space.
Great, thank you. Paul?
Yeah, I guess from my side, we have to be really in tune with the location that a lot of the media and the content we're creating goes into. So We could be doing the same for inside, outside, daytime, nighttime. I mean, Glowcourt, case in point, this is an external part of the ship that this is going on to. So that does impact how we look at the media and how we develop it. We spend a lot of time color grading, tuning literally on the hardware, because what we're looking at on a monitor versus the reality of it are hugely different. So we spend a lot of time sort of tuning and balancing all the media and the content so it works for these different scenarios. You'll be surprised what a beautiful bright day looks like hitting these LEDs versus what it looks like at night. We just have to factor that all in. And it's the same with the spaces themselves as well. Like, some that we, as Ben's mentioned, there's height restrictions and things like that. What can we do with the media to make it feel bigger? How can we kind of change the perception on that?
So just to add on to a point that you just said, Paul, there. So I got asked this question the other day, actually, when I was talking about Glowcourt. One of the guys asked me, so can it be only used at night? And my response was, no, we can use it all day. But could you just go into a little bit more detail?
Yeah, it
on
absolutely
how
can be
used
all day. In fact, I think primarily the thought was, I mean, I imagine majority of the play would be in the day. I think how it's going to operate differently in the day to the nighttime. So in the daytime, it's likely to be used more on the sort of game side. So we've got a series of 6 games currently on the court. Guests are able to register, play in groups of 10, collecting markers, shooting baskets, whatever those games needs to be. At night time, it becomes a bit more experiential. So this is when we start tapping into more emotive kind of content. We've got passive content, which allows for any number of guests to explore. They can be doing anything. You could put dining tables on here and eat. Next to a waterfall that can be interacted with if you wanted to. In addition, we're able to tie in with the actual ship itself. So they have their own operational needs. They'll be holding their own events, and we've created this flexible approach so that we can cater for all of that. So if they want to host a evening ballroom dancing and things like that, we could have passive content that sort of fits it, all built for this all built for the system. In addition, they have the ability to put their own content on. So if they had an external DJ in who had their own kind of visual effects and lights and things like that they want to use it to, that's all in tune with the music, they have the freedom to sort of plug in, play and go with all of that. So does that answer your question?
It does, yeah, definitely. And in regards to that kind of, so if we had a DJ on, am I right in thinking there's a game that we've got, isn't there, that moves and interacts with the sound and the beat of the music?
There is, but not necessarily for the DJ bit. The DJ bit would be, they would have the ability to put their own content on, although we have some passive elements in that they could tap into if they wanted. Yeah. But actually with the games themselves, I mean, you can kind of see we're sat around with these floating cubes at the moment. These floating cubes do more than just float. So we've got a lot of particle systems and stuff like that built in here that do move to the beat of the music. So we're able to take the kick of the music. So it just kind of gets that. In addition, it'll be the guest feedback and their input as well impacts it. So there's quite a few sort of things we can do there.
Great, thank you. I think the interactivity side of things is super interesting from a point of view of the waterfall that you were mentioning. You can kind of run your hand through the waterfall.
Chase the fish.
Yeah, chase the fish. And when you walk on it, the water kind of ripples, which is an amazing effect, definitely for someone that's not seen it before. So great, thank you. Moving on to the next question then. Why is multi-purpose design becoming so important for cruise entertainment spaces? Millie?
Yeah, I mean, guests expect it. Guests expect to be surrounded by technology. We've constantly got screens around us all the time. And I think people don't just want a one-dimensional experience anymore. They're always looking for something more to kind of add and evolve. And, to repeat the point, these spaces need to be versatile. They need to change throughout the day, different operational challenges. But also within a group, you might have different guest desires and enjoyment levels. So we often talk about these 3 different types of guests that we design for. So sometimes they will just want a more passive experience. They might just want to enjoy a space for what it is. You might have someone that wants to just engage lightly with it. And then the next level would be they want to know why. They want to get into the story. They want to get into the lore of kind of our design. So that's something that we have fun kind of designing, those 3 different kind of guest requirements or expectations. So there's a lot that goes into it, and through the tech we can create those transformative spaces that deliver the flexibility we need. So yeah.
Great, thank you. Chris?
When we're working on multiple ships at the same time. We could be designing across multiple ships within a class. And obviously we've put something on the first ship in that class. There is an expectation from guests that they may see that again, but they want to see it bigger. They want to see it better, so that by the time you get to the final ship within that class, it's this spectacular beast that's evolved. And with technology, it allows us to assess how that is used by the guests. So our first installation, we see how they use it. Are there adaptations that we should make? And then with technology, we can then implement that. We can add new features. We can enhance the experience to make it better, to make it more intuitive, to make it more enjoyable for a guest to use.
Yeah, something we do in the design process is we do a lot of prototyping. So we're actually, if a game should be fun on paper, essentially, and then you can build the tech around it. These guys know more about it than I do, but that's where we lean on these parts of the process, and through that we can then work out, okay, so this could be the first iteration, and then for the next ship it could be a next iteration, because we could add that next layer. So yeah, we kind of do that throughout the process of always thinking like, what's next, what's bigger, how could we improve it?
Great, thank you. Okay, so how does working at Conductor then help you bring these creative visions and ambitions to life?
I think the major benefit for me is just being able to work with all the different departments, because we have our own technical teams, we have our own creative teams, we have the media team, the software developers. We have everything that's required to deliver pretty much any scale of project, which is fantastic. That allows me to really kind of get hands-on with the hardware and really refine, at least from my side of things, the content we're creating for it. Allows us to bring things right from the early days of prototype into development, with always in mind of what is that end product, what is the end piece we're making. I don't know if you have a little bit to add there, Ben.
Yeah, I would just add to that, just to bolster Paul's point. We are a one-stop shop, and every team member who works for Conductor are experts in guest entertainment, and themed attractions and cruise design and this extraordinary industry that we kind of work within. And it's a pleasure to kind of work with everyone and just have that incredible kind of dynamic where you can lean on software, on media, on tech, on project management, on all these fantastic different kind of divisions. As the creative team, we're very much kind of at the front end a lot of the time, and then seeing how the projects are then kind of developed and brought to life, and the obstacles that we overcome to deliver those is extraordinary.
It's actually quite a good point on the obstacles. That is one of the big benefits of having everyone under one roof, is how we tackle those obstacles. Is you're talking to the right people to overcome these challenges. It can't be said how important that is, because we are doing stuff that no one has done so far. And with that means a lot of unknowns. We have a vision, but how we go about that vision is very much about the teams all kind of figuring out their little elements and pivoting when we need to, and adjusting how we go about something. And I don't think that's possible in any other scenario.
Obviously, having these specialisms as well, it allows for us, for a creative point of view, to focus fully on creative and not be limited by some of those concerns of, well, but how are you going to execute it? Because we've got in-house teams that we can then work with of how to execute it. So it doesn't stifle our creativity, because we can think blue sky. We can think what would, in a dream, what would be the ultimate thing? And then we can work with our in-house to then make that reality and work with them.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things, really, seeing these kind of the pieces of concept art or the RFP or something like that, and then seeing it go all the way and come to life. And we deliver every single aspect of the project, which is truly something that's a kind of USP for us, really. And the scale of which we were able to take things, really. I know we've gone from, 1 to 74 staff or something like that in just a couple of years, which is truly incredible and really shows that we've found that gap in the market, doesn't it? Gamification and interactivity are changing entertainment spaces. How are we bringing that into cruise design? Chris and Millie, I'll come to you on this one.
So yeah, we are seeing a bit of a trend where gamification is becoming more important. You know, there's a lot of things that go on cruise ships that go on across the different brands. They all have sort of similar entertainment offerings. So it's how do you enhance that, make it better, make it a new experience. People feel comfortable with some of the classics like a climbing wall. They know how a climbing wall works. There's a certain expectation that some of that's going to appear. But therefore, how can we use technology to enhance that? How do we add gamification to that? How do we add leveling up? How do we add additional experiences through gamification that make it more fun or a different experience? But then also with that, how do we tailor that for children, for adults, for less active cruisers, for adrenaline junkies and things like that?
Great.
Yeah, and it's something that guests now expect. People want to do things together and be active together. So again, an early part of our process is we'll get together with the game designers. We'll do a kind of round table ideation session where we talk about how this could be operationally led, whether there are actual operators there, whether we need to drive the whole thing through the technology. From that we can kind of springboard a bunch of ideas into fruition.
And by adding gamification, it means that you've got that additional layer of bragging rights. So when you beat your family at a game or things like something like that, you've got that bragging rights of, I destroyed you.
Just because you won last time we did. And we're starting to link together experiences as well. So, it doesn't just have to be a GlowCore leaderboard. It could be a leaderboard across an entire activity deck or across an entire ship. So this is the exciting thing with technology, is we can actually start to work out what the guest is doing and personalize, and they can start to feel like their memories are created through our games and things.
Yeah, I love that idea of it's creating those core memories. That's something that we hear a lot in the office, isn't it, Ben? I know we've spoken about that in the past. Okay, so what does everyone think for the next 5 to 10 years will be happening in the cruise industry then? So where is it going? Where is it heading? And what are you guys most excited for, really, with that? Ben, I'll come to you on that one first.
We can't say too much because we are already working on certain projects for 5-10 years in the future with certain cruise operators. I think in terms of kind of some stats, 30 million people went on a cruise last year. We're going to see that demand increase. 37 million by the end of 2027, 40 million plus by 2030. Gosh. So this is an increasing industry. This is a popular industry. We're also seeing changes in guest demographics. The average age of a cruiser is coming down. More than a third of cruisers are actually Gen Z and millennial, which might surprise a few people. So in terms of experiences, it's making sure that we reach out to them and create kind of more. I think I'd also kind of say, just with the increase of artificial intelligence becoming more mainstream now, I think the requirement for personalization is going to increase. Millie touched on it a little bit there, but that connective tissue between experiences. I don't think we're going to see cruise ships where there is a glow court or there is an immersive dining experience or whatever. It will be how all of that is connected as a full experience through the ship.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I didn't realize that it was kind of Gen Zs and millennials that were the main demographic on cruise ships these days. That's really, really interesting. Paul, did you have anything to add to that?
No, just that I'm a millennial now as well.
Okay, cool.
I'm in my 40s. I'd like a cruise.
Geriatric millennials.
Yeah. Geriatric millennials. Love that. Chris, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, so with technology, we think of some brands like Disney, for example. So for the end of 2030, they're going from 6 ships to 13 ships in their fleet. So we expect a lot from Disney and people like that. And then their theme parks, they use a lot of technology and are often leaders in that technology. But we see that the cruise ship industry as a whole are investing in a lot of that things. They want those unique things to bring new guests, new demographics to their ships because they've got something unique. They've got a new technology. They're really pushing that boundary. So I think cruise ships could become the leaders in that as well.
Great. That's really interesting. Thank you. Okay, so the last question, we'll come to you on this one first, Paul. This is quite a fun question. If you could design any entertainment space for a cruise ship with no limitations whatsoever, what would it be?
Any entertainment space on a cruise ship? I think my answer is probably going to be more boring than these guys, but
Okay.
I've always wanted to fuse our technology with live performance. That's what I've always wanted to do. So on a selfish level, I'd love to put on a show. A transformative show.
On
where
the glow
I can
court?
really play with the whole room, the whole atmosphere,
Yeah.
so the guests are part of that experience, but it's also driven by live performance and human-to-human interactions. I think there's something magical about that we're able to tap into. Keeping that sort of personalization, human-to-human concept, I think, with an experience is it's just something I've always wanted to do.
Great, thank you. And did the creative team have anything to add to that?
You go.
Anyone?
The full ship, please.
The whole ship.
The whole ship. We want the lot, because we need to start considering it as one holistic guest experience rather than a kit of parts.
Yeah.
So I'd love to kind of be involved in more of a master planning strategic overview of cruise ships, just to see how we can kind of deliver and enhance that guest experience. I think transformative environments as well. I'd love to really kind of explore, and it's one thing that we work with our current clients, is what is the heart of the ship? Where is that kind of coming from, and what is that essence that needs to then be kind of distributed through the rest of the experience on board?
Yeah, I was just going to add to that. We can think about the guest experience from when they're onboarding, and also looking at if there's any sort of boring moments for them and how we can transform those spaces. So we're actually entertaining at all points. I just think that'd be super exciting to start from the moment the guest onboards to the moment they leave, and beyond.
Ben, if a cruise operator is looking to enhance their entertainment offering, where should they start?
I think if they get in touch with us, we are going to take them on that journey and hold their hands through that design process. Ultimately, it starts and ends with us with the guest experience. So it's kind of reviewing what is currently on board, how can we enhance any attractions, how can we enhance any underutilized areas on board the ship,